Hey guys, Ashley here from Special Ed Socials. I'm going to answer all your questions today about curriculum differentiation. So, in our Facebook group, we're going to put up a question post. If you have questions about our weekly topic, put them in there. If for some reason you have missed the Facebook post for this and you're just seeing this in the Facebook group, you can comment below with this video with more questions that maybe I haven't touched on from week one. Next week, each week is going to be a different one of us answering some of these questions, but for this week, you have me, and I'm going to talk all things curriculum differentiation. So, our first question comes from Stephanie, and she has a question about differentiating three different levels of a similar subject at one time or a similar concept or unit. So, she gives an example if you have a friend doing CVC words, blends and digraphs, or maybe just a friend working on letters. So if this was me, I was sitting at my kidney-shaped table and I would have student one here. I might have a picture of a cat and give them 4 letters and say with 3 lines, like 1, 2, 3, and maybe say, all right, can you spell the word cat? You have 4 letters, put the letters on the line. And if they're not ready to have like an extra letter, then you just put the 3 letters that they would need. Friend number 2 you have sitting here, they're working on, let's say, dog or moth or ball, putting a visual in front of them, using magnetic letters, things like that. The next one is going to be working on blends like stop and star, things like that. So you might put a picture of those and you might give them 3 or 4 letters that they don't need, maybe even 1 letter, feeling like how you have to figure out how you have to challenge them in that sense. So it doesn't truly matter. It just goes from there. So that's one way to differentiate like a CVC and blends. Have them all sit on a cake, or you can sit on the floor. Like a lot of times, kids like to sit on the floor, they have lap desks. That's just using magnetic letters. You can also do it where if you're all working on CVC words, but they're at different levels, drawing the lines for it, 3 lines, and then having them write with a whiteboard, or using sheet pans with magnetic letters or little letter tiles. So that's something for CVC. WH question, same thing. Maybe you give a friend 2 choices for answers. Maybe a friend gets 2 visuals for an answer. Maybe a friend gets why questions with 3 answers, or they have to write the answer in. So same questions the students are given. Some might have to write the answer. Some might have to get 3 choices. Some might get 2 choices. Some might only get 1 choice and they just have to daub it. It all just depends on the level of your students. Let's talk about math really quickly. Math, let's talk about telling time. We gave examples similar to this in the live, but what you can do is have a student, if they're learning to tell time to the hour, you can have the hour hand being red, the minute hand being blue. It's a visual for them. So it's up here. When the minute hand touches the 12, it is o'clock. When the red hand touches the big number, what number is that? That's 3. So we're going to write 3 o'clock. Maybe they're just identifying the hour at this point. What's the red hand touching? Oh, 4. Good job. Then maybe you work on if you're doing analog, you write the o'clock up at the top, the 2 zeros. By the 3, you write the 15. By the 6, you write the 30. By the 9, you write the 45. And then they have the visual of, okay, it is 6:15. For the visuals, you look at the hands, they're different colors. You work on that. You can also underline it. So when I do time and I had to teach analog for our standardized testing, I would do the blue hand for a minute, the red hand for the hour. And what I would do is on their paper, I would literally underline the hour part with red and underline the minute hand for blue. So they knew, oh, when I look for the blue hand, I need to write it in this spot. And that is how I slowly started to teach analog time. A lot of times we just use digital time because that's what's out, and analog clocks aren't as common, but depending what you have to learn. That's pretty simple. Even like money, having kids just identifying coins, they could be counting coins, sorting coins, identifying the amount, just counting nickels, just counting pennies, counting all the coins. They can all be sitting at the table because you're all working on the same concept. You're just differentiating it to the level that your student needs. All right, next question. How do you know if curriculum differentiation is enough for my learners? What do I look for? So what you want to look for is when you're given a unit of something, if your school has one or doesn't have one, you want to make sure you look at your learner that has needs the most support, and then look at your learner that needs the least support, and then literally make sure there's something that's going to accommodate that child, this child, and then everybody in between. I had students with fine motor issues that needed some fine motor support. We would make sure that if there was cutting or pasting, we would just do daubing sometimes instead of the cutting or pasting, or we used the adapted scissors, or we used the glue sponge to put the paper in instead of having them use the glue stick if that was too challenging for them. So you have to look at that. Look at your lessons and figure out, how is my student going to be most successful with this? The first few lessons, it's going to be challenging for you because it's a lot of thinking, it's a lot of planning, but eventually you're going to know, oh, if I do a lesson like this, student A needs this, student B needs this, student C needs this, and it's just going to become natural for you to differentiate the curriculum if the one your school provides doesn't have a lot of differentiation for you. All right, next question. I need someone to break it down. How can I differentiation on money? Okay, so I gave that example. Well, I'm going to go over it real quick again, though. If you're working on coins, you might have students that's just identifying coins. You might have a student that's just counting nickels and pennies, or just pennies, dimes. You can put it all in front of you sitting together. You can do stations. Okay, all students that are just identifying coins are in this group. All students that are counting coins, mixed coins, are here. Students that are just counting dollars, here. Students that are just doing dollar more, here. And then you differentiate the lesson. So you could have them cutting and pasting and sorting to identify the coins that go with what. You could have them daubing. You could have literal manipulatives and have them put them in different boxes. For students that are counting money, you could give them a little bit. You could give them a handful and have them sort them, count it, write it on the table. Kids love to write on the table. Use a whiteboard marker, write on the table, or put it on a sheet pan. Honestly, I love that for money because it doesn't go everywhere on the floor. So give them a sheet pan, a few coins on it, and have them write their answer. It erases super easy. Get them from the Dollar Tree, super cheap. All right, how can I teach levels to students at once? I have 2 paras, but I feel bad putting lessons in to teach. So a lot of times, my paras and I, when I taught in middle school, especially when I had a lot more differentiation for students, when I needed to have more groups, my paras and I would run stations together. We'd be like, all right, hey, it's math. We have 3 stations. Here's what you're doing. They knew we had a schedule. They knew a group they had. They had the red group that day. We all had different groups. We work on a different unit. Inside, we would stuff the folders with like the list of activities they were going to do, or the manipulatives they would need. So you can even put it in a bin and be like, okay, red group, here's your bin. Go work with Miss Smith. Okay, blue group, here's your bin. Go work with Miss Jones. Green group, here's your bin. Go work with Mr. Jones. Whatever you need. Think about what's best for your classroom. It might even be one-on-one for some of your kids, and that's okay, but make it fun. And the kids can have a visual schedule that goes with that. So, oh, look, in math, I'm working with green. Green is Mr. Jones. Oh, look, I'm working with blue today. That's Mrs. Jones. Things like that. So curriculum differentiation is all about knowing your students. So looking at their IEPs initially, I know if you're a brand new teacher or you're getting brand new students, it's going to take some time to get your feet wet and learn who your kids are. But having the basics of differentiation down and ready to go, like whether that means you have 3 different worksheets ready. And sometimes, guys, differentiating looks like this. Oh, I realize this worksheet's a little hard for my friend. Black Sharpie, cross out 3 answers, cross out 2 answers, things like that. So I hope this has helped. We got a few questions, but if we haven't answered them again, leave them at the bottom of this video. I'd be happy to answer them, or Dawn, Heather, or Jen. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great week. See you next week for the live on week 2 for Tuesday.